Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Doing well.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So we'll get started with the prayer and we'll get into the second and the third mantras today. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Veshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so we are on the verse number 2, mantra 2. Just a quick recap of the entire Ishopanishad as such. We started off with the invocation prayer, which is Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Evavashishyate. That means the absolute truth is complete. And anything that comes out of it are also the complete wholes. And all the incompleteness that we experience in this world is due to the incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. That is what we understood from that. And in the next verse, which was the Ishavasyam, anybody remembers the concept from the first verse, mantra 1?
I remember briefly, Mataji, that everyone has their own quota and they should not try to get more than what they need necessarily and just stick to whatever quota they have, just like the birds and animals.
Okay. So, Ishavasya principle. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magrida kasya suddhanam. That means everyone has their own quota and one should not encroach on others' quota. It's not just in terms of the grains, in terms of the property, but in terms of the rights to express, rights to speak. So where is other, not just for the grain or property, encroaching doesn't mean only in those areas. We can also encroach in others' rights, which is more subtler ones and more hard to overcome those. The gross ones, that is encroaching on someone's property, which is obvious, there are laws and orders that are taking care of them. If you encroach on, you are eligible to go complaint, and there are rules, regulations, orders that can address those. But when you encroach on someone's rights, which are very subtler, and especially in the home situation or in the work situation, when you start encroaching, then that becomes that's also not as per this principle. We should not encroach on others' rights in any way. And then the next verse in this section, the section of the verses in this verse, we're going to speak about what are the benefits in living in that condition, in that consciousness. This is the verse that we're going to do today. Verse mantra 2. And mantra 3 talks about what are the ill effects of not following the Ishavasya principle. If you follow the Ishavasya principle, what are the benefits and what are the effects of not following, negative effects of not following the Ishavasya principle. So that's in essence, is the summary of these two verses. So we'll go into the details. Mantra 2, issue 2. Kurvan eveha karmani jijivechatam jijivesechatam samah evam tvayi nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare. Is this also a memorization verse for you? I think mantra 1, invocation and mantra 1 are the only memorization, I guess.
Mataji, only the
Yeah.
invocation and the mantra one.
Right.
Yes,
This
Mataji.
is
Only
not,
the first two.
yeah, okay. But still we can repeat. Priyanka Mataji, can you repeat after me? Kurvan eveha karmani
कुर्वन् एवेह कर्माणि
jijivet chatam sama
जिजीविषे चातं समा
evam tvayi nanyate tosti
एवं त्वयि नान्यतोऽस्ति
na karma lipyate nare.
न कर्म लिप्यते नरे.
Okay. Synonyms. Kurvan, doing continuously. Eva, thus. Iha, during this span of life. Karmani, work. Jiji vitset, one should desire to live. Satam, 100. Samaha, years. Evam, so living. Twayi, unto you. Na, no. Anyatha, alternative. Itaha, from this path. Asti, there is. Na, not. Karma, work. Lipyate, can be found. Nare, unto a man. Translation. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. So, what kind of work, in which way one can live for hundreds of years? This verse says, if he continuously goes on working in that way. In which way? In the Ishavasha way. Ishavasha way means that everyone is eligible for their own quota and one should not encroach upon others' quota. That is what we should understand. We should know, realize how much is my quota and how much I'm eligible to accept anything with regards to property, with regards to rights, with regards to grains, with regards to wealth, everything. So that is, if we can understand that and live in that consciousness, Ishavasha consciousness, we can live for hundreds of years. For that sort of work will not bind. So what are the different kinds of work that binds us? What are the different types of karma that we have seen from Bhagavad Gita? Anybody?
Karma, akarma, and vikarma.
What is karma?
Doing the, sorry, Mataji, karma, I don't know how to define it, but akarma is doing your duty, but in the service of the Lord or giving the results to Him, so that doesn't incur any reactions. And vikarma is doing the karma that is against the scriptural rules and regulations. I'm not sure what karma is, just not knowing whether it's
Karma
akarma.
is the activity. Any work that you do is karma. So karma's definition is very expansive. It's not just limited to just doing work. Karma is doing work for sure. Karma is the result of work. Karma is the karma kanda, the fruitive activity. The karma is the results of the entire cycle of work, the entire gamut of work that can be put under the word karma. So karma is not just the activity that we do. It is activity. It is also the result of the activity. It is also the fruitive activity. It is also the entire chain of reaction of action and reaction. So action is karma, reaction is karma, fruitive action is karma, the cycle of the entire actions and reactions is also karma. So the whole thing won't be affected if we live in this consciousness. That's what it is saying. And there is no alternative to this way for man. So karma is one, the other is akarma, which is when you don't generate any reaction to karma, to activity. That is akarma. When you add a to it, it becomes no reaction, which is Krishna conscious activities. And vikarma is negative activity. So anything that you do work, which is also karma, also negative karma. Right? So karma is very broad. Vikarma is specific. When you do only negative work, like sinful activities, which you generate negative karma, which can glide us down into the lower species. That is Vikarma. So we can read the purport and understand more from Prabhupada's point of view. Tushi Mataji, you want to read? I see you joining today.
Yeah, sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
First paragraph.
Yeah, Mataji. No one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is visible not only individually but also collectively in the community, society, and nation. There is a hard struggle for life by all kinds of living entities, and the Veda says that this is the quite natural. The living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of soul or karma bandhan, bondage by one's work. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature, and if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in the many species of life.
So Prabhupada starts off with saying that everyone wants to continue their current status quo, how much ever longer it can go. No one wants to disturb it. That is the attachment that we have for our status quo. We want to keep it maintained. And to do that, we struggle. Because we have to maintain it, we need to struggle to do various things. And this is also not expanding just to individuals, to family, to society, to nation, to continent, like that. Like it expands. And everyone is working hard to keep that status quo. Because if on an individual level, I want to keep this main body, I want to keep my youth, I want to keep my resources, so I'll keep doing it. Similarly, family, I want to maintain my body, my family, the country, the society within which I live, my friend circle. I want to keep them. So I'll work hard to do that. Then I'll keep my, then the broader society will think about the nation. And the nation will work hard to keep their boundaries. Otherwise, someone will encroach and take away your country. So that everyone is struggling. And because of that, there is constant transmigration from one soul to the other. Because we want to keep it, we will struggle for it. And because of that attachment, because at the end, what are we left with? We are left with the activities that we have done in our life, results of that, and the hankerings that we have in our heart. We are left with those things. And these are the cause for the transmigration into the next soul that is very suitable and very conducive for you to continue from that consciousness, from that point of consciousness in the next situation. So that's going on and on. But one thing is we cannot not do our work also. If we say, okay, all this is causing so much of reaction to me, let me not work. Also, we cannot say that. Because Krishna says, if you cannot do your duty, that is most binding. Work itself is binding. If you don't do work, is also binding. Because this is what Krishna has explained to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna wanted to give up his work. But his psychophysical nature as a Kshatriya won't allow him to sit quietly as a Kshatriya. Because he will come up with his nature. If that situation is gone, next situation he'll come up with his nature. And according to what he's saying, he will not fight. That means he is not supposed to fight in the future also, which won't happen because his nature will come up. So that if you don't do your work, see how many negative things can happen. First of all, the work not doing itself is a negative thing. On the top of it, you'll transgress what you are not supposed to do because you have taken an oath or something that I will not do, but you'll do because of your nature that comes up. And that is transgressing, which again causes some reaction. So the negative effects of not doing work is more than doing the work and getting binded. So better do your work, at least to start off, so that things are normally progressing, and not doing work is even dangerous. So, but how can we, so doing work, one thing is sorted out, that doing work is good. But how can we do our work? And what is that consciousness? Is what this verse we saw that the essence itself, the summary itself, we know if we work in the Ishavasha principle, which is a Ishavasha principle is what this book is teaching, but we know how we should work. We should work in the form, in a way that will not generate any karma from Bhagavad Gita, right? We have learned that already. So let's read next paragraph. Vivek Prabhu, Karti Mataji, are you good to read?
Other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death. But when the living entities attain a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the chains of karma. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. And actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. Of these three types of actions, that which frees one from the bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent men. Ordinary men wish to perform good work in order to be recognized and achieve some higher status of life in this world or in heaven. But more advanced men want to be free altogether from the action and the reactions of work. Intelligent men well know that both good and bad work equally binds one to the material miseries. Consequently, they seek that work which will free them from the reactions of both good and bad work. Such liberating work is described here in the pages of Sri Isha Upanishad.
Thank you. So we understood that doing intelligent people will realize both karma, which is actions, reactions, prescribed actions, fruitive actions, and reactions of chain, as well as vikarma are binding. So how should one work? We should work in a akarma way. Akarma is not generating. Intelligent people will choose that. So that is where we have to advance. More advanced people choose to do that because they want to be free altogether from the actions and reactions of the entire work. Because both of them are equally binding. If we do akarma, karma, which is the fruitive activity, we need to come back and enjoy the fruit of it, either enjoyment. Vikarma is suffering because that's the result you will get. That also has to be reaped. So both of them are binding. So better to do liberating work, which will not generate any karma as described in this book, which is Ishavasha principle. As also we have learned this in Bhagavad Gita, but the same concept put in a different way, right? Different terminologies introduced. Yeah, let's read next paragraph.
I'll read, Mataji.
Who's this?
Kartikam.
Yeah, go ahead.
The instructions of Sri Isha Upanishad are more elaborately explained in the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called the Gita Upanishad, the cream of all the Upanishads. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead says that one cannot attain the state of Naishkarmya or Akarma without executing the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedic literature. This literature can regulate the working energy of a human being in such a way that he can gradually realize the authority of the Supreme Being. When he realizes the authority of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva or Krishna, it is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. In this purified stage of the modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot act, but he is able to work on the basis of Naishkarmya. Such work does not bind one to the cycle of birth and death.
Yeah, Naishkarmya is Nishkama Karma. That terminology we are used to in Bhagavad Gita. Or akarma, without executing the prescribed duties. So Naishkarma or Akarma is same. Which will not bind us, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance cannot bind in the Naishkarma stage, Nishkama Karma. So that will be liberating from cycle of birth and death. And this is also explained in Bhagavad Gita 3:9 to 16, where Krishna explains that one should not be attached to not doing work. One should do their prescribed duty. By doing their prescribed duties, which is a sacrifice to the Lord, it generates rains. Because when there is a sacrifice, rains fall, and because of the rains, grains grow, and grain again that is used for the man's survival existence, and that will also help us to do more sacrifice. So the cycle of cycle of life was explained in 3:9 to 16 by Krishna to Arjuna. So first of all, do your prescribed duty, because by doing your prescribed duty, you'll attract the mercy of the Lord. When you do sacrifice, you get attraction, you get the mercy, and with that, gods will be pleased. They shower rain. Through rain, grains grow. Through grain, man will survive, get his strength, and he will also have ability to do more sacrifices. And that cycle continues. So that is explained in 3:9 to 3:16, which is very important for us to continue to do that, because from there only the liberation can happen. Not doing work will not take us anywhere. In that only Krishna says, not attached to not doing work will not get any good results in this world or in the next. He'll say that. You will not get it, because you will get infamy but not doing work, as also next life is even worse. That's what he says. Then we'll continue into the next. Prabhupada explains about different isms, because when we expand our attachments, it becomes into various kinds of isms, which he's going to explain. Yes. Radula, you want to read?
Hare Krishna, yes, Mataji. Actually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stages of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can anyone completely stop fruitive work. A conditioned soul is accustomed to working for sense gratification for his own selfish interest, immediate or extended. An ordinary man works for his own sense enjoyment, and when this principle of sense enjoyment is extended to include his society, nation, or humanity in general, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, and humanitarianism. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandhana, karmic bondage. But the Vedic instruction of Sri Ishopanishad is that if one actually wants to live for any of the above isms, he should make them God-centered. There is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist, a socialist, a communist, a nationalist, or a humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation with Ishavasya, the God-centered conception.
So the extended interests become some sort of isms, which is altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, humanitarianism. So Prabhupada is saying all this is fine. These isms are very binding, because we get into the mine and me and mine concept, and that becomes very binding. But it need not be that much binding when you put God-centered consciousness in doing your work. And that is Ishavasya principle. How it can be extended to each one is, again, at the personal level, we follow this. And the family level, also it is followed. In the society level, when you do social activities, which are Krishna conscious activity, Krishna-centered activities, that gets extended. And when a society expands, it becomes a nation. Most of the nation people follow it, then becomes the voice of the nation, and that is that's not binding, right? Like if the community thriving in Krishna conscious activities, if the entire nation can take that up, which is very euphoric principle to do that. Even Prabhupada never thought that this would happen, but this is how it can be extended. It's possible, but provided everyone is on the same platform. That is Varnashrama. Varnashrama dharma is that only. When everyone following their own duties, rules, and regulations as per the scripture and putting Krishna in the center of their life. That is Varnashrama. So to do that in the current day and age is very hard, but each one can try at their own level to start off from the individual level and to the family and extended family and so on. So that is the Ishavasha concept. And what happens when we do that is what is explained here in the next paragraph. I think we're going to finish in the next 2 to 3 paragraphs. Who wants to read? Who's that? Debbie. Okay, please read.
Thank you, Mataji. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.40, Lord Krishna states that God-centered activities are so valuable that just a few of them can save a person from the greatest danger. The greatest danger of life is the danger of gliding down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death among the 8,400,000 species. If somehow or other a man misses the spiritual opportunity afforded by his human form of life and falls down again into the evolutionary cycle, he must be considered most unfortunate. Due to his defective senses, a foolish man cannot see that this is happening. Consequently, Sri Ishopanishad advises us to exert our energy in the spirit of Ishavasya. Being so engaged, we may wish to live for many, many years. Otherwise, a long life in itself has no value. A tree lives for hundreds and hundreds of years, but there is no point in living a long time like trees, or breathing like bellows, or begetting children like hogs and dogs, or eating like camels. A humble, God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of a life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what is this verse 2.40? Anybody knows?
विक्रमराजोऽस्ति
Yeah.
प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमपि
From
अस्य धर्मस्य
that,
त्रायते
the
महतो
little
फलम्.
papa.
Yeah. What does it mean?
So even a very little advancement on this spiritual path is never lost, and there's no diminution for that, and it can protect from greatest type of
Greatest dangers.
danger.
So this Ishavasha principle, when we continue to live in that God-centered activities, God-centered life, even if we have, for example, have not matured in our activities, because we have taken up the God-centered activities, even if we fall down after doing it for some time, still there is no danger. Because you'll in the next life, you'll start from there only, not from zero. That is the benefit we have in following this Ishavasha principle or in following the God-centered life. In Bhagavad Gita, Neha Bhikrama Krishna has already explained. So there is a danger everywhere. But if we follow Swalpam Apyasya Dharmasya, Swalpam, only a very little quantity also if you do, you won't have the danger of gliding down back into the 8,400,000 species of lives. And but if someone misuses all the resources that they have, all the knowledge that they are getting, all the spiritual master that they have in their life, everything, if they have it and still they don't use it, that is very unfortunate. So this life, Prabhupada says, is let's make use of the bad bargain that we already have. We are in a bad bargain state. Let's make use of it in the best way so that we can utilize it to the best extent. So otherwise it becomes unfortunate situation. And people who are generally conditioned, they cannot see this happening. They think that if I'm able to earn well, if I'm able to influence people well, if I am able to enjoy well, the success of my life is achieved. Earning, enjoying, influencing, what else? What else people think of generally? They want to control, influence, control, enjoy, earn, eat. Enjoy can happen in various ways. All the four regulative principles can be broken. So that is when they think that is defects. There are a lot of, that's defective mentality. They are not able to see that they're gliding down. In this life, they may, whatever sukruti they have gained so far in their life, if they use it in this life, then there won't be anything left for them. So they need to come back. So that is most unfortunate situation. However, if we make use of everything that we are in, Prabhupada quotes few examples here, like the trees live for a long time. What's the point of living like a tree? If one wants to live hundreds and hundreds of years, by living like trees or by breathing like bellows, means exercising and controlling your breath and begetting children, or eating like camels. Camel, they put a lot of food in their mouth, like take more than they can even chew, but then they sit down and chew, eat like camels. So slowly they keep chewing. That's what called chewing the chewed. Also, Prahlad Maharaj says, chewing the chewed. That example comes in his teachings. So even what's the point in doing that for so long? Like living like trees, living and breathing and heavily, so that breath can be improved, life can be extended, and having a lot of children, eating like camel. What is the point? Unless you are developing a God-centered way of life. Because all this will become unfortunate situations if we don't realize the Ishavasha principle. Yeah. One of you can conclude the next two paragraphs. Read and conclude.
Mataji,
But
monastic activities are executed in the spirit of Sri Ishopanishad. They become a form of karma yoga. Such activities are recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 8.5 to 9, for they guarantee their executor protection from the danger of sliding down into the evolutionary process of birth and death. Even though such God-centered activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor because they will guarantee him a human form in his next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. How can one execute God-centered activities is elaborately explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as the Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all those who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Sri Ishopanishad. Hare Krishna.
So that altruistic activities in the spirit of Ishopanishad is karma yoga. What is when you add yoga to karma, it becomes Vedic activity. Like karma kandic activity is a Vedic activity, which is still better, right, compared to not karma itself. Such activities are recommended in 8.5.9. What is 8.5.9 explains is, if you give up your activities, think it is very troublesome, it is very laborious, I don't enjoy it because I just don't like it, that's why I want to give it up. That is ignorance. When you give it up, thinking that it is struggle, why I should struggle so much, that's ignorance. When you execute activity because you get some results, that's passion, fruitive activity. You want to get something out of it, so you do it, which is good. But if the work can be done for the sake of doing the work, that is mode of goodness. The three modes are explained in these verses, 8.5 to 8.9. That is karma kanda. Karma kandic way of what is karma kanda? Fruitive activity. What is fruitive activity? When you get some reaction to it. So in each of the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, you get reactions. How? Reactions for not doing work is negative. Reaction for doing work in a passionate way, that is, I'll enjoy it because I want to do it, so I'll enjoy, is passion. So you'll get some equal opposite reaction. And doing activity for the sake of doing work is mode of goodness, which is not completely perfect, but definitely better than the other two. What's the best way is to put everything in a Ishavasha principle, which is the Krishna conscious activities. So in this way, if you do even a mode of goodness, continue to do, which is better than the rest. If you add God-centered activities, if you add God into that, then it becomes, we understood that from 2.4, there's no danger, even if you stop it in between for various reasons. And this is repeated point, but explained quoting different Shastric evidence. So earlier we saw from 3.5, third chapter. Now you're seeing from 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita. When the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita is given, in these verses, Krishna explains that how work should be done, how work should not be, how work should not be given up, how work should be done. Mode of goodness, ignorance, and passion. So finally, Prabhupada explains that everything, goodness is also binding to some extent, right? Because you have to enjoy the good result of it. What should be done in a liberated way, akarma. From the beginning, the same point repeated in different ways, different flavors. Finally, he's talking about the book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where direct devotional activities are explained. Activities which are entirely Krishna conscious activities, God-centered activities. Because in Bhagavad Gita also, you see karma kandik, jnana kandik, and bhakti related activities. They are put them in different categories, right? In first three section, first 6 chapters, last 6 chapters, and the middle. So, but Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is that literature which is only talking about Krishna conscious activities. Anything that you do in God, keeping God in the center. That is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Jiva Goswami, which is the next book you're going to read, I guess. And Prabhupada is already giving a recommendation that you should read it so that we can elevate our consciousness and become, keep Krishna in the center of our activities. So that is in essence this particular verse, which is 2. As one can aspire to live in the Ishavasha way of life for hundreds of years, can aspire to live for so many years, and because that work is not binding. There's no other alternative. So the next verse talks about, Mantra talks about what if one does not do, what happens, which we already saw here, but then again explained, because this is a book that is taking us sequentially from explaining the concept, benefit of the concept, and negative effects of not doing that concept. Is taking us in that way, right? So let's read what Isha Mantras 3 says. Asuryanama te loka andena tamasavrita tamste prityabhigachanti eke chatma hano janaha. Who wants to read? Anybody wants to attempt to read?
I can do, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll say after you.
Okay. Asuryanama te loka
Asurya nama te loka
andena tamasavritaha
andhena tamasavrataha
tamste prityabhigachanti
tamste prityabhigachanti
eke chatma hano janaha.
yeke chatma hano janaha.
Okay.
I can go next, Mataji.
Yeah, you want to recite or repeat?
Asuryanamati loka andhena tamasavratah tamste prityabhigachanti yeke chatma hanojanaha.
Thank you.
May I repeat?
Yes.
Mother?
You want to repeat?
I'd like to try.
Okay. Asurya nama te loka
Asurya namate loka
andena tamasavritaha
adena tarmasarvataha
tamste prityabhigachanti
tamte pratyabanchati
eke chatma hano janaha.
eke chatma hano janaha.
Mridula, I want to recite.
Yes, Mataji. Asurya nama te loka andena tamasavrata tamaste pretyabhigachanti ये के चात्मा हनो जनाः
Okay, Toshi Mataji.
आसूर्यनाम ते लोका अन्धेन तामसावृतः तामस्ते प्रेत्या गच्छन्ति ये के च आत्माहनो जनः.
Okay, we'll continue. Asuryaha meant for the Asuras, Nama famous by the name, Te those Lokaha planets, Andena by ignorance, Tamasa by darkness, Avrataha covered, Tan those planets, Te Pretya after death, Abhigachanti enter into, A anyone, K everyone, Cha and Atmahana killers of the soul, Janaha persons. Translation: the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So here we are getting introduced to a word called Atmaha. Cha Atmahano is nothing but Atmahana, Atmaha, killer of the soul. So who is a killer of the soul? Whoever does not live in the Ishavasha principle, keeping Krishna or God in the center of their life, is Atmaha, the killer of the soul. Whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. But is the soul killed? Did we not learn that soul is never killed? What is the verse that says that in Bhagavad Gita?
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचन न
Nayam Bhutva.
न्यायं भूत्वा मृता वा न भूय. Last line is
So,
Nahate Nahanyamane
Ajo
Sharire.
Ajo Nityah Shashvato Yam Purana
Nahanyate.
हन्यते
हन्यमाने
हन्यमाने
शरीरे.
Very nice. And what are the one more verse that
that it is not weathered by wind and not burned by fire.
what is the verse?
No, I don't know the verse. Like,
Yeah, Nainam Chandati Sastrani, Nainam Dahati
Yes.
Pavaka, Nasainam Kledayanti Apo,
Nashushayanti
Nushosayanti
Maruta.
Maruta.
Amshoshiyati Maruta.
So in all those verses, we have learned that the soul cannot be cut, soul does not die, soul, all that we have learned. The soul, but here we are talking about the killers of the soul. What does it mean? Okay, let's go through the purport. Yeah, volunteers, please read first paragraph.
I
I
can.
can read Mother.
Give chance to the ones who have not done before first, and then we'll continue. Who's volunteering?
Yeah, I
I can read.
haven't.
I have to go, but I could read something before I go.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
Okay. The purport: human life is distinguished from animal life due to its heavy responsibilities. Those who are cognizant of these responsibilities and who work in that spirit are called suras, godly persons. Those who are neglectful of these responsibilities or who have no information of them are called asuras, demons. Throughout the universe, there are only these two types of human being. In the Rig Veda is stated that the suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. Their ways are as illuminated as the path of the sun.
Okay, pass. So human life is a life of responsibility because there is karma associated. So we have to live life in a very responsible way. For the animal life, there is no karma. So they don't have any responsibilities. They don't have to maintain families. They don't have to maintain homes. They raise children, but only to certain time. And that's it. They don't have a home to maintain, neither earn. So they don't have any responsibilities. For that reason, they don't have any karma. So because they don't have any karma, they are not binded to do this. But the human life is very, very heavily responsibilities oriented. And that is a distinction between human life and the animal life. Okay. So the humans who understand that they have responsibility toward themselves, toward their family, toward their society, towards their nation, towards their God, are suras, godly people, because they don't neglect their responsibilities. They act very responsibly. They are suras. And the asuras are opposite people who are asuric. Asura, bhava marshita. Those are the asuras. How do they do? I want it to enjoy for myself, my family. I'm an extension of that. And it all starts with me, asuras. They don't want to keep anybody else in the center. And they also want to take away God's position. Those are asuras. So there's always constant war between suras and asuras. From the Vedic literature, we understand that there was fight between the suras and asuras. And Lord Vishnu always comes and helps the suras, which are the demigods. He always comes to protect the demigods. And somehow or other, the demons get defeated. But there will be time when the demons have more powers because of the time, influence of time. And that time, no one can do anything. So at that time, the demigods hide. They hide away because the time they cannot do anything. Influence of the demons is more. So then that happens. That also happens. So this kind of fight between the demons and the demigods is continuously happening. So if you look at from the time perspective, in the Satya Yuga, they were the suras and the asuras. They used to live in two separate different planets. Suras are mostly in the higher planets. Asuras are mostly in the lower planets. So, however, when there is fight, they all vie for the same position, which is Indra's position. They vie for it, they fight for it. So that's when Lord Vishnu, Suras, what they do, whenever they're in difficulty, they approach the Lord. Not ideal, but definitely not bad. Ideal is when you approach the Lord not for help, but for the sake of devotion. That is the ideal. That's a devotee. But suras are ones who are godly people who, if you approach, in Bhagavad Gita also we see that, right? 4 types of people approach the Lord, who are Arto, Artati, Jignasu, and what are the 4 categories?
Jnani.
Jnani. So that is also, Krishna has already described, these are the best people. Out of that, Jnani is the supermost best. And Asuras are those people who do not approach him. Who are those 4 types of people?
Naradhama, Dushkritina, Mura. There is one more I'm
Maya
forgetting.
Bharata Jnanis.
Maya Bharata, yes.
Asuram.
Asuram Bhava. Those are Bhava, Asuri Bhavas. But the 4 types of are Mura. Say the verse, then you'll get it. What's the verse?
Mudha Maya Apahrita Jnana, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. And third,
Naradhama.
Naradhama, lowest among mankind. And fourth is Asuram Bhavam, demonic nature.
You say the verse. 7:15, right?
Mhm.
Can go to Bhagavad Gita.
I can read it, Mataji. I'm reading it, I don't remember it. 7:15. Namam dushkriti no mura prapadyante naradhama maya prita jnana asuram bhava mishritaha.
Ashrita. Okay, so the asuras are those kind of, they are Mura,
Sorry.
Naradama, Maya Bharata Jnanis, and one more we are missing. Nama, Dushkritas, miscreants. So these are the 4 people who do not, they are Asura Bhavas. So, and they always vie for the position of the supreme, either the king of the universe or the Lord himself. That is where that fight happens. So, in the Vedic texts, we see that in the time bygone, they used to be in that, like, planets, different planets. Suras are all in the upper planets, starting from the different planets that we have, starting from 7 down, 7 up, starting from Earth. Bhur, Bhuvat, Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka. There are 7 up and 7 down. So the Suras are all living in the upper planetary systems. So that was the olden age, like bygone ages. Then came, that was Satya Yuga. Then came, so there was always demarcation between Suras and Asuras. And then the Dwapara came, Treta came. Where were they? Within the same planet, but different countries, for example. The Suras were all in godly conscious people were in one country, and Asuras were in another country. Right? Treta Yuga. What was example you can give as Lord Ram and Ravana. Ravana lived in another country, and the fight happened between them. So then Dwapara Yuga came. Within the Dwapara Yuga, they were in different families. Kshatriya, Kauravas and Pandavas. Families, but you can say different lineages. But when come Kali Yuga, the Sura and the Asura live in the same individual, the same person. Sometimes we exhibit Sura qualities, sometimes we exhibit Asura qualities. So for the Krishna conscious person, he needs to subdue all his Asuric mentalities, so that only Sura qualities become prominent and lasting. That is the path for us. But if you look at the generations have come up with these kind of mentalities. Okay. Yeah, so let's go to the next. Who's reading?
May I read, Mataji?
If you are not read before, please. If you have
Thank
read
you.
before, give another one.
No, I haven't read. As yet. I just did the shloka. Intelligent human beings must always remember that the soul obtains a human form after an evolution of many millions of years in the cycle of transmigration. The material world is sometimes compared to an ocean, and the human body is compared to a solid boat designed specially to cross this ocean. The Vedic scriptures and the acharyas or saintly teachers are compared to expert boatmen, and the facilities of the human body are compared to favorable breezes that help the boat ply smoothly to its desired destination. If with all these facilities a human being does not fully utilize his life for self-realization, he must be considered Atmaha, a killer of the soul. Sri Isha Upanishad warns in clear terms that the killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually. Hare Krishna.
So what do we have? We have the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. The analogy that is given over here is that Guru is the body that we have is the boat. The Guru is the boatman who are navigating the boat, and the body is the boat itself, and the scriptures are the favorable breeze that help the boat ply and to get to the right destination. So we need to make use of all these, the Vedic scripture, the teachers, and the instructions, and conduct our life so that we can get to the desired destination. One who does not utilize that, we saw that in the last verse, it's a very unfortunate situation. Even though they have all these things, yet not making use of that is an unfortunate situation. And they are called as Atmahas, killers of the souls. Because what is happening to the soul? The soul is degrading. Instead of going up and up, it goes down and down. That is killer of the soul, Atmaha. It is not killing the soul itself, but your consciousness. That is the point here. It is not nobody can touch the soul, because soul is so small that you cannot even perceive it. So where is the point of killing it? That's the argument Krishna gives to Arjuna. It is very small. Some say it is very amazing. Some looking at it, thinking, feeling about it, understanding it, they say it is very amazing. Yet no one has seen it. But so he's telling, how can you kill something that you have not even seen? So don't worry, they won't be killed. Their atmas are intact. That's the argument Krishna gives to Arjuna. But now we are talking about the killer of the soul here. What does it mean? It means that the consciousness is getting degraded. Instead of utilizing all that we have available, the teachers, the Shastra, and the Guru, we are not utilizing that and going against those principles, then that becomes we're degrading our life, our soul, and gliding down into the lower species. So that person who does that is the Atmaha. So and that person enters in the lowest regions of ignorance and suffers perpetually. Okay, clear? Hope it is not confusing what it means. Maha. Yes, Palak.
Mataji, it's not clear because human being is actually nothing. So we are in a way saying the soul is the killer itself, which basically means soul is being degraded. Is this right understanding?
The soul
Okay.
is being degraded. We are not killing the soul, but the word is you're bringing it down. Instead of elevating your consciousness, you're gliding it down. That is killing the soul. That's Vedic word, Atmaha. Atma can be utilized just like the word karma. There are few words that change depending on the context, it becomes the meaning, it takes the meaning. One is karma, we just saw. The other is Brahma. Brahma also has the similar understanding. Brahman can be the spirit soul. Brahman can be the supreme soul. Brahman can be Lord Brahma. Brahman can be Brahmana. Brahman can be the impersonal Lord. So different contexts brings the different meanings for Brahman. Similarly, Atma. Atma is also like that. Atma is the soul. Atma is the individual. Atma is the spirit himself. So in that context, you're bringing the soul down. So Atma is in that context. Okay. Let's move to the next paragraph. Someone else?
I can do it. There are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc. Its economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us, but the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. The human being is given all facilities for a comfortable life by the laws of nature, because the human form of life is more important and valuable than animal life. Why is man given a better life than that of the swine and other animals? Why is a highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of an ordinary clerk? The answer is that a highly placed officer has to discharge duties of a higher nature. Similarly, the duties human beings have to perform are higher than those of animals, who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomachs. Yet the modern soul-killing civilization has only increased the problems of the hungry stomach. When we approach a polished animal in the form of a modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach, and that there is no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite his denunciation of the need for self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill his stomach, he is always threatened by unemployment.
Okay. So we saw that there is no economic necessity, and for that reason, they don't have any responsibility, the animals. Papa gives swines, dogs, camels, asses. They have nothing to maintain. There's no mortgage to pay, there's no grocery to purchase, there's no clothes to wear, there's nothing, there's no home to live in. So they don't have any economic necessity. But for that reason, they don't have any responsibility. So, but that doesn't, that's very opposite to the human life, right? We have economic necessities and we have higher responsibilities. So higher responsibilities, higher powers in that way comes with higher responsibilities because we have powers, right? We can do, we can take care, we can think, we can execute, we can influence. These are the powers that we have. With these powers, we get higher responsibilities. So that is why we are given greater facilities also. So we can execute all these things in a better way. So these facilities are available only in the human form, not in the animal form. Example given, the higher official in the government office has got better facilities than a clerk, ordinary clerk. So that is because he does more higher duties. He is taking care of so many people. He signs a lot of checks, probably. He makes some plans. So that, and the clerk is only looking at his desk and some files on his desk. Whereas the higher official does many other things. So in that way, he has got higher responsibilities. That's why he's got greater facilities as well. And if you only think of just feeding your stomachs, because human beings are in that category, if we ignore everything else and only think about getting me grains, getting my family grain, and that's it, I'll only work towards that, then it becomes, it's Atmaha. We are capable of doing other things, higher things as well, apart from taking care. So how can we do? Yes, we do have to feed our stomachs. We do have to feed our family stomachs. But our time, the whole time, need not be spent only in that. Yes, there may be a situation when people have to work hard to get it. But in whatever condition they are, they can always think about Krishna and always chant Krishna's names in whichever condition they are. And slowly, because Krishna's magic works, Krishna's power works, their ability to cater to Krishna-centered activities will expand. And their ability, their responsibility to take care of only their stomachs will be taken care somehow. And their ability to take up higher responsibilities increase. So that is how this work expands. This rule is different when it comes to Krishna conscious activities. If you only worry about the stomach and the things, that is only our consciousness will be left to. And if you even make one small attempt to do higher than what you are doing, then the time energy is such that it expands. Then you get ability to do things in a better way, in higher things in a better way. That is how the time energy, because time is Krishna's energy. If you say, I don't have time to do anything else other than taking care of my body, you'll be stuck with only that. But if you accept, that is a process of surrender that we see. Acceptance for some instruction, acceptance for something that being open is a starting point of surrender. Be open to something. See, if you see something that is coming your way, accept it. That is the one step towards surrender. When you accept it, then you take it up and use it, even though you don't have time. You employ that because you're accepting it and you're allowing yourself to do that, whatever you are accepted. Krishna's magic works. And because time is Krishna's energy, it expands. It helps you to do more things in a positive way. So that's what it is. So because that is the responsibility of humans, they need to be doing this. Instead, if they are only constricted to just my body and my situation, then that's how it will be left, and it will even go further down. Because everyone is thinking in that way. Everyone else is thinking that way, and they're trying to hoard. So there's not enough. When you start hoarding, there's no enough for anyone, even for one own self. The whole civilization will come down. Okay. Yeah, we can read.
May I read, Mother?
Please.
We are given this human form of life not to work hard like asses, swine, and dogs, but to attain the highest perfection of life. If we do not care for self-realization, the laws of nature force us to work very hard, even though we may not want to do so. Human beings in this age have been forced to work hard like asses and bullocks that pull carts. Some of the regions where the asuras are sent to work are revealed in the mantra of Sri Isopanishad. If a man fails to discharge his duties as a human being, he is forced to transmigrate to Asura planet and take birth in degraded species of life to work hard in ignorance and darkness. Shall I stop here, Mataji?
Yeah, we can stop.
Thank you. Hare
So we
Krishna.
saw that human life, if you only care about your necessities, mere bodily necessities, and that's what you will be forced to do, and not caring for self-realization will not take us to the higher consciousness. And what happens as we keep gliding down, then that is asuric mentality. That is also one of the mantra that we'll read in this chapter, in this book, where what happens to those people who transmigrate to the lowest planets, work very hard in ignorance and darkness. Yeah, we're going to conclude. Someone read?
If nobody's reading, I can read, Mataji.
Right.
In the Bhagavad Gita 6:41-43, it is stated that a man who enters upon the path of self-realization but does not complete the process, despite having sincerely tried to realize his relationship with God, is given a chance to appear in a family of Shuchi or Srimat. The word Shuchi indicates a spiritually advanced Brahmana, and Srimat indicates a Vaishya, a member of the mercantile community. So the person who fails to achieve self-realization is given a better chance in his next life due to his sincere efforts in this life. If even a fallen candidate is given a chance to take birth in a respectable and noble family, one can hardly imagine the status of one who has achieved success. By simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed birth in a wealthy or aristocratic family. But those who do not even make an attempt, who want to be covered by illusion, who are too materialistic and too attached to material enjoyment, must enter into the darkest regions of hell, as confirmed throughout the Vedic literature. Such materialistic asuras sometimes make a show of religion, but their ultimate aim is material prosperity. The Bhagavad Gita 16, 17, 18 rebukes such men by calling them Atma Sambhavita, meaning that they are considered great only on the strength of deception and are empowered by the votes of the ignorant and by their own material wealth. Such asuras, devoid of self-realization and knowledge of Ishavasya, the Lord's universal proprietorship, are certain to enter into the darkest regions. Hare Krishna.
Conclude.
The conclusion is that as human beings, we are meant not simply for solving economic problems on a tottering platform, but for solving all the problems of material life into which we have been placed by the laws of nature.
So by reading this repeatedly, what should happen to us? Okay, we can go into the purport, which is, anybody looked up the verses 641 to 43? Shuchinam Srimatam Gehe. Okay, anyway, the verses talk about the yogi, unsuccessful yogi. What happens to an unsuccessful yogi? He takes birth in the family of a Suchinam or Srimatam. Suchi is Brahmana, Srimat is having wealth. So mercantile is what Prabhupada is saying, or kingly. So they take birth in the family of Suchinam or Srimatam, who yoga brashta, one who has not concluded his yoga. That is in 6th chapter. So it is still better because in the next life he starts off with these people, and also we know 240 Neha Bekamana Shostre. We just read in the earlier verse. So we don't lose anything. Instead, we start either in a Brahmana family or in a rich family, so that we continue from there. If an unsuccessful person itself is given these many facilities, what about a successful yogi who's trying very hard, very, very hard? Now, these are the people who are yoga prashtis. That means they give up in between for whatever reasons. But the ones who have tried through their life and not given up any time in their life, they continue to do their life, devotional activities. What to speak of them? What happens to them? You can only imagine. That is up to Krishna. The success is guaranteed to the extent that you have surrendered, of course, right? So that is the benefit of doing this. So we are when we speak about the topics that we are introduced in these chapters, maybe some words are new, like Ishavasha is new. Atmaha probably is new. We're just learning this. But the concepts, this is nothing new, isn't it? We have seen this concept repeatedly in various other books that we have learned. The concept of Ishavasha is also not new. Where did we see this Ishavasha concept earlier? Does it come under Atyahara Prayasa? What is the verse Atyahara? Anybody remembers? Nectar of instruction?
I can try, Mataji. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasango
Tascha, Laulyamcha.
Shadbir bhaktir vinashyati.
Yes. So, Ishavasha is also along the same lines as Atyahara, isn't it? Atyahara, Prayasa, unnecessarily endeavoring for things which are not your quota. Your quota is what you have to realize and only do that much, not encroach on others. So the concepts are old, put in different ways. This is a Vedic literature, right? And Ishopanishad, Nectar of Instruction is written by Srila Rupa Goswami. And because he has seen the entire Vedic knowledge, he has put the summary of whatever he has learned from Mahaprabhu and everything, and he's put that for a Gaudiya Vaishnava devotee who can go all the way up to Radhakur, right? So that is, but this is a Vedic literature. It's coming from the Shruti. We learned that the very first session. So even in the Shrutis, it is the same thing. It's given in the beginning itself. Shruti are also saying the same thing. And this words, this kind of literature, right? Because it is written in the Shrutis, also it comes under Smritis as a prayer by some great exalted devotee. So this is also appearing, similar verses of Ishopanishad verses also appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a Smriti literature. We saw that, the difference between the Shruti and Smriti. It's recited by Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. Who is Swayambhuva Manu? Is the first Manu. When Lord Brahma created the universe, the first Manu that comes out is Swayambhuva Manu. He recites these prayers. They are similar to Ishopanishad prayers. In that also he explains like how one should conduct their life, what happens to the soul, it becomes Atmaha. So all this is given. So the literature comes out in different ways. The concepts come out in different ways, in different contexts, in different terminology. But the concept remains same. We are not changing any concept here, adding to it itself. So this is, so the coming to the point of Suchi and Srimad, we are seeing that there is a guaranteed life in a healthy or aristocratic family. But one who don't do that, they will be glided down into the lowest form of ignorance, darkest regions. That is the Atmaha, that is Asura. Right? Then we saw in Bhagavad Gita 16, 17 to 18. Anybody remembers that? You all have read? See, whenever verses come up, you can open Bhagavad Gita. That helps us to cross-reference as well as to understand in a contextual way, in a deeper way. Is that hard to open Bhagavad Gita on your phones or in your on the book?
It's 16.17. Atma-sambhavita stabdha dhanmana-madanvitaha yajante nam yagneste dambhena vidhipurvakam.
You can read only English for now.
Okay.
17 and
Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only. without following any rules or regulations. And 18 is bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger. The demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion.
The definitions of asuras. What do? They hoard, they control, they encroach, they show off, they influence, right? In terms of everything what we just read, and they deceive, and they show off their strength, right? So that is the asuric mentality that goes opposite to self-realization and knowledge of Ishavasya. And they enter into the different concept again. The concept is same, but quoting different Shastric evidence. Bhagavad Gita 16:17 is so. And then in the conclusion, it is said that as human beings, we are meant to not simply for solving economic problem or for tottering platform, but for solving all the problems of material life into which we have been placed by the laws of nature. So we are placed in this universe from Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter. What is 13th chapter? Nature, enjoyer, consciousness. Right? What does it say? You have the field of activities. What is the field of activity? Your body. Your body is your field of activities. So that is because of our misuse of the free will over time immemorial, we have been given a field of activity, which is this body. And it is binded by the laws, material nature. So the entire Bhagavad Gita is talking about, first of all, to tell you the work that we have to do, giving the concept that we have to do our work no matter what. We have to do devotional service because that's the best. And coming to the jnana or philosophical way of putting, you have a body because you have misused it. You have a body, you've been given this field, you are here, and it is very entangling because the modes are constantly acting. So what do? Understand the philosophy. The next Jnana section talks about the philosophy because you are here already. What to do now? Everything is acting against you. So some knowledge is given so that use this knowledge. That place where you have to go is very, very, very illuminated. Where you are is very dark. The place that is where 15th chapter Krishna gives a glimpse of the spiritual world. Because you have a field, because you have a body, you're entangled in the modes. Go to that place where you will not come back from having gone there. So that is where this, in a philosophical way, is explained the same thing, what is explained in the earlier chapters in a different way. Directly, indirectly. By using work, by using knowledge, by using devotion. So this is something that we have to make use of in our life. Our life is not just for catering to the different people. One is to the workers, one is to the knowledge seekers, one is to for the devotees. Is explaining the same concept in different ways so everyone can understand it. So if we are only stuck up with that I have this body, I need to take care of it, I need to just maintain it however way we can, by encroaching, hoarding, influencing, controlling, deceiving. If we do that, then we are gliding ourselves down, which is we are killing our own souls. Instead, we need to understand what is the property of the Lord, what is my right, what is the right of the Lord, what is the property of the Lord. Everything belongs to the Lord. I am also entitled because I am a rightful owner, claimant of the Lord's property. I will use only that much that I am entitled to and not encroach in anyone's. I keep all my activities Krishna conscious and God-centric, and then execute my conduct. In that way, I can continue to live how much ever I can. But if I fail to do that, I am going to go in and become a soul killer and glide down into the ignorance. So this is the concept between these three verses. Is there anything new that we have learned in this set of verses, what we have not already learned? That is my question to all of you. I've told it already, but I want to ask you and understand from your perspective. If not, what we should all do? is something that I want to ask all of you. You have a few minutes. First of all, did we learn anything new? Totally no new other than the words? If not, if so, if we have not learned, so what should we do next? Yes, start with Shalini.
So we knew that, we stay in the cycle of birth and rebirth and can go down, but there is a very strong word used here, Atmahan, which is killer of the soul. So it's a very strong language that's used here. So that means we should take it very, very seriously and not just, think of it in terms of getting out of that cycle, but not kill our soul, which is actually eternal. I think that's my big
Okay.
major.
Takeaway. Good. Anybody? Some people are quiet today. Yes. Palak.
So, in addition to what Shalini Mataji said, I think something that has been really emphasized here is the importance of self-realization, right? And not working like animals. Sometimes I personally feel, at least this year, I feel that I'm just extremely busy with work. So, and I do feel like a cat and dog. Why am I doing this? I want to spend more time, on thinking, reflecting. And I think that has been stated here again and again. So, for me, in my practical life, I think it basically says not to take a lot of pressure at work and keep yourself calm and spend more time on self-realization. That's what I would say.
Yep. Anybody else?
Mataji, one realization that I have, or probably a reminder, is that there is a reason why we are born as human beings, right? And not as the other lower species of life. And many a times, because of the material attachments that we have, the modes of material nature, we keep forgetting this, right? So we have to, again, do a karmic activities so that whatever we do in life, we are offering it to Krishna and start realizing him in every step of our way, right? So that's one correlation. It's something not new for sure, but this is a good reminder for us for sure.
Anybody else?
Just to add, Mataji, like one point is like if we are not pursuing our spiritual life, the material nature will put us into more and more hardships. That is one thing very striking by one of the point I noticed actually today. I felt, I mean, it's actually so true. Like we often happens like if I personally see this like when little bit like focusing too much on trying to solve the material, it will become more and more. But always better to try to balance both, because ultimately like we have very little control on things, and it is categorically mentioned if somebody is not endeavoring at all, then they will be having more troublesome material life also.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Anybody else? From what so all that we have learned is nothing new, just coined in a different way. So what we should do as a result of that, because we are hearing these messages repeatedly, right? So what is the takeaway?
We should live in the Ishavasya, like the way, keeping Krishna as the center.
Yeah, that is, yes, it's something that we all should do. What else?
And also, I think that we should avoid by doing the activities for not going into the darkest region of the hell, which is like killing of the soul, and not open your eyes to understand and practice in such a way that just don't aim for coming to a birth in the next life into a pious family or a higher category life, but then try to be go and go forever. Don't come back.
So, by reading this Shastra repeatedly from different angles, our faith should increase. We should increase our faith. It should go deeper. Our faith should become deeper and accept these principles in the core of our heart. When we accept things in the core of our heart, it flows out in the ways of work that we do. If we just accept it is from the theory, maybe read this verse because I have to pass this exam, which is also important because that will get to the next level only. Reading, memorizing gets to the next level. So we should not be just stuck at that stage of just reciting something, remembering. We should be able to relate. Shastra is coming across to us in different ways. Coming up, Prabhupada quoted so many Bhagavad Gita verses. That means we should have read Bhagavad Gita before we read Ishopanishad. That is how it is sequenced also. And that whatever we have read should corroborate with what we are reading as well as increase our faith. And applications should happen. Because we're hearing the messages repeatedly, different angles. Application should increase, our faith should increase. That should be the takeaway for us. Okay. Yes.
Very quickly, Mataji, sorry, I'm being so talkative today, but I just, on the same lines of what you said, I was listening to a lecture from Hari Parshad Das, and he said different other religions, scriptures are always dissing or insulting other religions like Abrahamic religion and so on. But in the Vedic literature, all the scriptures are actually saying the same thing, number one. And number two, they are not offending or insulting or criticizing any other religion for that matter, because at that time probably no religion existed, but still it's not criticizing anything. So that's a very strong evidence for the sanctity of the Vedic literature as opposed to the other religions' scriptures that were created probably by man, who where human being is subject to those 4 defects.
Exactly. Yeah, those are all. Anyway, some teachers have already said, I don't want to say what they said. So the Vedic literatures is coming directly from the Lord. Shruti is what we said, right? It came directly from the Lord. And it is coming down to the disciplic succession only by the way of memory. So that is where it is directly words of the Lord. And Krishna also says that in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. I am the source. What is that? What is that?
Aham sarvasya prabhu.
No, that is 10:8. 15:15.
Vedas.
Sarvasya chaham hridi sannavishto.
Yeah. So I am the source. Sorry, repeat the verse.
Sarvasya chaham hridi sannavishto matta smritirgyana apohanam cha Vedascha sarveraham eva vedyo vedanta krit ved eva chaham.
From me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. I am the comparer of the Vedas. I am the, from me all the Vedas have come. I am the comparer of the Vedanta. So he is the one. Everything came from him. So he is the Lord. He is a proprietor. He cannot leave some people away. That's why he gives these topics for those people also, impersonalists also so that they can come to him. In 12th chapter, he says, right, it is very troublesome for the impersonalists. Although there is process, the process is there, but it's very simple. But if you take that impersonalism and expand it, saying this is the only thing and everything else is wrong, that is concocted. That is man-made, it is defective. Right, okay. So, anything else? Yeah, Devi.
Hare Krishna Mataji, could I ask you a question? When we reread verses of Bhagavad Gita 6, 41 to 43, it was saying that those that were doing devotional services, if they were unsuccessful in the path, they'll be born in a rich family or a Brahmana family. And I've heard from many devotees that we ourselves may have been devotees, we're continuing our path, but not necessarily were we born in a rich family or a Brahmana family. So we say that we're in a sense privileged, and so we can use that because we have an opportunity to do bhakti instead of being in like where people are in war zones or in other challenging situations, so they can't perform bhakti. So we're in a situation we don't necessarily need to be the definition of what rich is, but could it be like that? Could I take it as that understanding as well? You're privileged because we have the ability to practice bhakti now, and we have less hurdles as opposed to others.
Yeah. We can be called as mercy recipients, receivers of the mercy, by some devotees' mercy, because how do we become devotees? Either from the Shastra it is said, Suchinam, Srimatam, but there are other categories also. Not everyone might be in that. Some might be in the mercy category, where only by the mercy of a devotee we are here. Someone has become very merciful. They've given us some books and given us some prashadam, given us some good words so that we hung up. Our only qualification is this, we just accepted it. We said yes to Krishna at that time. And then we are here. So yes, we could be called as those fortunate people who may not be rich, may not be wealthy, may not be brahmanas by birth, who have access to all the Vedic knowledge.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll conclude here for the day, and tomorrow we'll continue with the 4th and 5th verses. Next section. Thank you very much. Anchakalpatarubhyascha kapasanapayacchi Tibanapavabhya. Vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Kuti Vaishnaviki Jai Shri.
Jai Bhad ki Jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.